such a wonderful show. So I used to watch it and think, that's America. That's...
Was at that time.
Yes, it's not now, but it was then. Gaz, when you come to conventions, what is it like meeting the fans after so many decades? Does it still surprise you when you come out and see all this?
It's just heartwarming, you know. It's so great because I mean we're young guys filming Happy Days, and honestly, the joy I think you all feel from the show, we felt on the set. There was that rarity of a group that really loved each other, and so I think that went across. I think there was an it factor to the show. They asked, why is it such a big hit? What is it? Well, it's good writing, true, great direction, but it's that just magic of chemistry. It's just the right people at the right time, and I think combined a little above the script. And I think our friendship, our love for each other, radiated across the TV screens for everyone watching. So what's wonderful is that the show, probably because it was always old. You know, when it went on, it was the 50s, right? It was one time in America, so it's always old, it's always new. And it's just so wonderful just to see it still bringing joy to so many people's lives. And we're just so appreciative that we can, you know, feel and share that love.
Thank you very much, you guys. I wanted to ask, you mentioned the friendships that you had on set. Was that pretty much immediate? As soon as you met each other, you just loved each other instantly?
Yeah, hello, there you go.
There you go, we got you.
Sexy voice.
I know you're probably going to disagree because in the past we were asked that question, and you thought it took a little more time. But to me, it seemed like there was a relationship that started very fast between all of us. And I think it was like what you said is the combination of people, the personalities and the soul, whatever it is. I mean, that's why the show became so big, because we did have this bond that was a little bit surprising that it did happen that fast. That was my recollection, that it happened very quickly, and I think we all were so respectful of the talent that was there in that cast.
Also, Gary Morrison did a very smart thing early on. Gary, who's the creator of Happy Days, our boss, really our mentor, he was a sports addict and he loved softball. And he wanted to put together a softball team. And Don could have been pro. I mean, we had a really good group. The one who didn't play was Henry, but you guys helped him learn the pitch. And he became a very good pitcher. So Gary put together the softball team. And we started getting these charity pre-games in all the major stadiums in the country. Yankee Stadium, Brewer Stadium, Dodger Stadium, all. Then we went overseas, we played against the USO troops. But Gary thought, it's one thing to play ball, but you always have the back of your teammate. And he felt that we'd bring all that back to the set. And when people asked us, what's your best memories of Happy Days? It's not the set, it's the ball team. It's playing against the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force over the China Sea where was it?
I wasn't there.
Yeah, it was in Japan. What's the island called?
I forget.
Age got to me. Anyway. Okinawa, sorry. And then we were in the 3rd Infantry Division in Germany and on and on. But that really bonded us because we took it so seriously, and if we weren't on stage or on ball fields.
What kind of ball player are you in comparison to what an actor? So if we're acting versus ball playing, what kind of, are you a competitive ball player?
Competitive in softball?
Yes.
Well, we were always on the same team, so there was not competition amongst each other. But we were pretty competitive against the people we were playing. You know, we had some really good ball players, and Henry, like Anson said, he was the only one who hadn't really played any ball, and but Ron and his brother Clint taught Henry. They thought maybe, you know, moved really good dancer. They said maybe we could teach him how to pitch. And he became a really good pitcher. Yeah, he became a good pitcher and helped, helped the team. Really did help it.
And we were good. we were good. You weren't on this particular trip. In Okinawa, we played against the Marines, their best team. First the Navy, then the Army, then the Air Force, then the Marines, right? And we won all 3 games, and we beat the Marines.
Wow.
They get so upset. We won another game. Great, and they brought in ringers from Tokyo.
Wow.
And we beat them worse.
You
So I'll tell you, we were competitive as a ball team. And I don't know if we ever lost.
I remember the one loss.
Don't remind me.
It was in Miami. It was in Miami, and it was raining really hard, and we were playing against a bunch of former football players.
Oh, that's right.
All really famous football players. And it was raining real hard, so in some ways we shouldn't have even been playing. But we had a couple of bad breaks, the way the ball skidded and somebody would fall down because it was so wet. And then they hit, there were some guys who could hit the ball a long way. They had a couple of, big home runs. But it was a close game.
Yeah.
But we lost that one.
I purposely forgot about that.
You mentioned this name Ron, and I think there's some guy called Ron backstage.
Oh,
I think
I think so.
I think he's some.
Our age?
Yeah, I think he's all right. Let's welcome Ron. Hi, I'm Claire. There's Ron, guys. Round of applause. There's Ron. Hi, Ron.
I just want to second the fact we were really good. And I don't think I was at the Miami game. Or maybe we would have won.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Did you really miss that game?
I don't. But I do have to say that we played not only these games in front of major league stadiums and things like that, but we also played in a competitive show business league.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that, I heard the question about were we competitive.
Yeah.
We were really competitive because we were a #1 TV show. So you can imagine they wanted to kick our butts. And sometimes they did, and sometimes those were very, very competitive.
Those were, yeah. Because all those guys were very competitive too. Yeah.
It's a funny thing you guys are in the unique and great position that you get to recall these wonderful memories over and over again with fans. Do your memories or opinions of your characters change according to the way you recall them, interacting with fans? Does that change for you over the years when you see your characters through the fans' eyes? Sorry, we got deep for a second.
Well, I will tell you, we were all young, ambitious guys working hard on the show, but also looking toward the future. We would work on projects together. Anson produced a movie that I did. Donnie acted in a film that I shot. And we were always, we were thinking ahead, and we were very self-critical. And the reality is that years and years later, I realized I hadn't actually watched an episode in a long time. And I was kind of at an airport waiting to get on a flight or something, and it happened to be on. And I just watched it, and it was the greatest feeling because I said, oh, I know why the show was a hit. It was good. And we were good. It was a particular style of show with a kind of energy, and we had this brilliant director, but we were so cohesive as an ensemble unit. And so whether it was a ball field or one of our weddings or backstage hanging around, playing cards or doing the show, we really had connected in a great way, and it sort of worked its way through the screen, and I think it's one of the reasons the show has endured as well.
Yeah.
Dawn, I'm going to pivot slightly, but I saw this wonderful YouTube video. You were singing with the Orlando Jazz Orchestra. Have you heard this man singing? You must have, right, guys? Singing?
Thank you very much.
You're wonderful. Like, do you, in terms of acting versus singing, is there a preference?
Oh God, it's so impossible. People ask me that a lot, and I honestly can't pick. The only thing is, it's not quite apples to apples, because when you're singing, putting together a show, you're picking all the songs. You're picking what the material is, and you're picking ones that are great. When you're acting, you don't always get that. I mean, there are some parts that, you know, you take because there's some reasons for taking it, but
Mortgage payments.
but it's not, the material isn't really great, you know, it's maybe fairly good. So when I get to act in something that I think the material is great, then it's even. Then it's an even playing field. And but to pick which one I prefer, I started out singing when I was pretty young. That was the first kind of professional work I did. And then I put it aside for a while, knowing I'd get back to it one day. I don't know why I waited this long, but anyway, and then I really focused. I got very laser focused on acting. So at one period of my career, it was singing at the beginning, then it became acting, and that went on for a long time. But now that I'm singing again, it's like, you know, they're about the same. I just can't.
And there's some directing mixed in there too.
Yeah.
Both of you guys.
Yeah, both of us did some directing. Yeah, Anson shot like 300 hours of television shows, right? Something like, yeah. So,
But I'll tell you this, I have to brag about my brother here, because I've seen, so many of your shows, and I've never been to one he didn't get a standing ovation. This guy's one of the best American songbook singers in the country. He's ever around wherever you are.
Great show. He puts on a great show.
So Don, what a day this has been.
No.
What a record I've been. Why, it's
Almost like being in love.
there's a smile on my face for the whole human race.
Why, it's almost like being in love.
All the music of life seems to be
Like a
bell
the bell that is ringing
for me, and from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could
swear I was falling.
I could swear I was falling.
Why,
it's almost like being in love.
Yeah! Megacon makes it happen.
The panel's rolling in again. Thank you so much.
Don hates me now.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask, we're talking about directing very briefly, and I actually had a question for Ron about the directing, because I think you previously said that acting created some insecurity for you back in the day. Can you explain what that feeling was to you?
Well, especially when our show went from being a show that was shot single camera, more like a movie, into a show done with multiple cameras in front of an audience. There was a whole year where I was very anxious. Everybody else had had a lot of theater experience, and I'd had none. But I learned a tremendous amount from it. But ultimately, I got into it as a child actor. I always liked acting, always liked being around it. But very, very early on, I was attracted to the role of the director. And years later, I recognized that I don't have a performer's personality. I wasn't hungry to perform. I was hungry to tell the story and to lead that, be a part of that, be central to that. And so I think there was a part of me that, as I knew more and more about films and television, I started to feel like I had more potential as a director. I started to feel like I recognized what my limitations were as an actor, and I did some good work that I'm really proud of as an actor. But there was a particular kind of thing, and I just was, just dying to be behind the camera. And people ask me all the time if I want to act, and sometimes I play myself, like in Murders in the Building. I just did that. There's a new that was fun. And Seth Rogen is starring in a show that's going to be on Apple later this year called The Studio. And once again, I played myself in that, and I had an even bigger part. It was fun. I still so love the directing and the producing and everything that we're doing at Imagine Entertainment that, I don't really have time to look. If Bryce wanted me to be in a movie or a TV show that she was directing, I think that I would make time for that.
In terms of acting or directing, are there stories that you have been particularly drawn to over the years that that's the story I love to tell as an actor or a director?
Well, for me, kind of like acting, I didn't want to just do a particular kind of genre or style. So, like the first one I did was a very dramatic story, pretty heavy, and so I could work with the actors. It was very, we had great relationships, and we rehearsed. Even though it was a low budget film, we rehearsed for like a week before, and it was really great. But then the next film I did was a comedy, and so I love being able to do one kind and then another, and then I did a family film. So it's if the material is good, I don't care if it's comedy, drama, fantasy. If the material is good, that's what dictates. Me.
That's fair. What about you guys? Is there a particular story you like to tell?
I know, for me, when I first started directing was pretty much what I created. Then you become a director for hire. I was television, and most of the time, you go in and you get a script. So sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's not really good. So it's really wonderful when you do get a script that really means something. And yeah, you want to do a film that touches you, that offers something. People will talk about it later. There's a purpose for it. So, and I was very lucky in terms of television. I was able to direct, everything from Star Trek to Hercules to Xenas to Melrose Places to 90210. It was all these different genres. And it was just a lot of fun, and quite challenging because you don't have the big budgets and you're under a lot of pressure in terms of getting it done, and you're working. A lot of times you're the guest. The cast is there all the time, and you're in there directing once in a while. So that's challenging. But ultimately, it's when it's good material and when you have just a great group of actors, it's really a wonderful experience.
Would you agree with that, Ron, in terms of directing, or is there something specifically you always go towards?
Well, I also like what Don was saying. Is I looked for variety. So I've done fantasy, I've done broad comedy, I've done serious drama, I've done thrillers, and now I'm also making documentaries. So I've been so fortunate to be able to explore the medium and keep experimenting. And I've also been incredibly blessed because I had early success as a director. I've been in a position where I've really been able to choose projects that I was passionate about. Now sometimes it's because I care about the themes of a story, or sometimes, like with The Grinch, I just wanted to guide Jim Carrey in that role. I just knew that he was a physical genius. I wanted to help support him and create the environment and watch him bring that character to live action screen, and he did a remarkable job. So Sometimes the Da Vinci Code movies, they were fantastic, but they were these great life experiences because we were going on the Da Vinci Code tours. We were living them, you know. So not only were we telling, you know, the Dan Brown stories, but we were also shooting all over the world together. So that was a really compelling reason to make those films. So I've been very fortunate, you know, to be able to choose subjects that I'm really excited about and ready to commit, you know, a year or two to making, and also the high risk because, you know, not every film succeeds, and when it underperforms, it's painful for everybody involved, and you run that risk each and every time, and but it's I think it's worth, you know, that gauntlet. It's not so much even for the success on the other side, it's the experience of working with great talent on a story that you care about. And I've been just so lucky to be able to do that for decades, and I'm still at it and at it.
Thank you. I know. Thank you.
Ron, I have a question. When you were doing Da Vinci Code, did you get the Louvre? Were you able to shoot?
We did shoot in the Louvre.
Were you like the first movie ever?
We were very. I think people had shot, but we had to shoot in the main gallery, and we only had 3 nights. So we did build a set to do extended stuff and violent things, and you know, because you had to be super careful in the Louvre. You couldn't even let the lights shine directly on the masterpieces. They had to bounce off the floor and be soft light. But we had 3 nights in a row. We were on a very, very tight schedule. We were on such a tight schedule that we were shooting in the main gallery, and all of our grip equipment and camera equipment was in the Mona Lisa room. And at one point, we were really hurrying. We were behind schedule, and so Tom Hanks didn't have time to go back to his dressing room to change for the next scene. And I had to give him some notes. And so I was giving him these notes on what the next scene was going to be, and he was changing his pants in front of the Mona Lisa. And I said, wait a minute, this is a moment we have to remember. Okay, we've been underwater with the mermaid, we've been weightless with the Apollo 13, and now you're pantsless with the Mona Lisa.
I guess now we know what she's smiling at.
That was off camera, you know, that was behind the scenes stuff.
I like the idea of the Mona Lisa just smiling at Tom Hanks in his underwear. He's just having a little smile. Now, we're not doing live fan questions, but I have pre-selected fan questions here that we've got from some fans who have submitted them online. Don't mind me asking you these. This is from Jenny M from Orlando. Happy Days has such a fun energy on set. What's a behind-the-scenes moment that still makes you laugh? Thank you to Jenny M.
We used to have the thing where we would put tape all over Jerry Paris and then start throwing, you know, so it was kind of dumb, kind of stuff that should have been on camera that we were actually just doing behind the scenes. But we had this amazing director, Jerry Paris, who was a comedy genius. Great guy. We all learned so much, and we also, you know, and he became kind of, maybe not a father figure, but kind of an uncle figure, right, to us all. But he was hilarious, and sometimes he would in between, like he would be calling to see if he had tickets for the Rams or something like that. The first time the Rams were in LA, and he'd be on the phone. We'd be trying to rehearse the scene or something, and we realized he'd wandered over and he was on the phone, and so we would just start taping him to the phone. But there was that. There was the softball games. We did have like blackjack. Jerry would be the dealer. We would do that on Thursdays, remember, and stuff like that. So it was, and we also played basketball at lunch, and it was kind of a nonstop. Kind of like the freshman dorm going, you know, kind of just going on all the time.
I remember it was funny because people, toward, you know, as we're going through, everything was second nature now, staging. I mean, we just, you know,
Yeah.
and after a while, people would come on stage, look at rehearsal, and all they would hear are grunts. Really? Okay, you start over there, you walk in here, you're there, Ron, great, go. So Richie, so Richie, didn't even say words. You grunted, you knew it was funny. If it wasn't, you knew what you had to do. People thought we were crazy. But that's how connected, that's how connected we were with Jerry.
The other big genius on that show was Gary Marshall, of course, who was creative. He was just fantastic because he was also a natural educator and teacher, you know. So not only would he come in, he'd be away working on Mork or one of the other, Laverne and Shirley or one of the other shows, and come in and could see us running through the episode, and he would just instantly have these notes that were either writing notes or they were acting notes that would make such a difference. But he was just great. He was probably the best boss that I ever worked for, because he would take you aside. He was like a great coach, you know. I mean, he would know how to bring out the best in us in little ways too.
And he also listened to us. We could contribute. I mean, a lot on Happy Days came from the cast, because between Jerry and between Gary, we were allowed to, and they would take our suggestions, and it was very collaborative.
Yes, especially when we switched to the 3-camera format, and we had all week to rehearse and have the run-throughs for the writers and the producers, and then, as Ron alluded to, like, there'd be notes, and we'd try to figure out how to improve something or make something work, and Ron mentioned it. I was always amazed how Gary would come up with these things that you don't know where they came from, because we're having problems with a scene, and he goes, you know, what if Patsy and Ralph did this, and Fonzie did whatever it was, and we'd all say, that's great, and it worked, remember?
One time he looked at an episode and he looked at me and he said, "You don't have enough to do." He said, he said, "You're going to carry a girl through the show." I said, "Keep with his stunts." And I had to carry Heather, who was one of the background players and second team, and had to for one whole scene I had to carry her on my shoulder. She played wrestling.
And he came up with
I said, "So this is the fix, Gary?" Yeah, it's funny.
We like you.
but he'd come up with a backstory for some reason.
Oh yeah, it was a stunt. It was like trying to get into the fraternity. Right.
We've got another fan question from Meg D from Tampa. If Richie, Potsy and Ralph were living in today's world, what do you think they'd be doing? Well, I'm interested in this one.
We'd be at Megacon here, having a conversation.
I think Ralph would be running the dispensary.
I think Potsy would be his best client.
Yes.
And Richie would be making a documentary about his old buddies.
Love it. This one's from Samantha R from Miami. Happy Days had so many memorable guest stars. Was there anyone who made you completely starstruck?
I know the first thing you think of who made the most impression would be Robin Williams. But in terms but we weren't starstruck. We were struck with his talent, but it wasn't that we were he had a reputation, or that we followed him in movies or anything like that, because he was an unknown. So I don't know who of our guest stars were we stage struck. Can you think of?
Yeah, I have one. Because I remember I was sick and Dad one day as a little kid, and I'm watching what was the one for the Gipper film, and there's Pat O'Brien. When Pat O'Brien was on, I was speechless.
Yeah.
I mean, I was absolutely dumbfounded.
And it meant a lot to me because Danny Thomas came on and did an episode. And it didn't mean as much to the guys, even though Danny Thomas was a big star. But Danny Thomas had been one of the executive producers of the Andy Griffith Show. And while he didn't really work on the show regularly, it had been part of his production company. And he took me aside and said, we're all so proud of you. But back to the Robin Williams thing. I mean, man, do I miss him as a talent. We were never close friends, but I knew him. But what a genius. And he blew our minds with what he immediately started inventing and contributing. And we were all just looking at each other like, this is a next level talent. There's this explosion of creativity. And I've never really seen, anything quite like that. And it was like, one of those weeks that I really cherish just in my experience in this business, and I'm sure do miss him as a talent.
This one, I'm zooming it in because I forgot my readers. My eyes are old. Emma Kay from St. Petersburg. The theme song is so iconic. Do you find yourself humming it from time to time?
No.
I kind of like Rock Around the Clock better.
It started off with Rock Around the Clock.
Ron, do you remember when they were pre-recording the Happiness song? The clapping?
No, tell me.
You clapped.
I clapped?
You clapped. Remember when we saw Bill Haley?
Yes.
Redo, right?
Oh, you mean when they did that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Yes.
And that had also been the opening song in American Graffiti.
Yeah.
And of course, Blackboard Jungle, and that had been used many times.
Yeah.
And I guess they couldn't afford it, so in the second season, they recorded the song that became the Happy Days theme.
Yeah.
But Anson, I didn't know, but Anson told me that you were watching Bill Haley. Right? It's just because that was a cool thing.
Yes, it was.
To watch.
I remember that now.
But then he said, the claps in the song where it's a certain kind of.
I'm going to remind you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was off?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I don't think I had enough rhythm to do it. I think I had to bow out.
They didn't really use your clap, but.
We had a lot of alcohol that morning. Okay.
Anson could do it.
Sorry, this next one is from Rachel S. from Tallahassee. I say the names in an American accent because I just love the American names. Tallahassee. I'm American. If the three of you could reunite for a project together, what kind of show or like a TV show or movie would it be if you could reunite and work together?
Whatever Ron wanted.
Second that. Let's ask Ron.
That's a good idea. We're going to start spinning out. Golden Boys? No.
That's funny you mentioned. I've got the Golden Girls on right here. You could be here on this T-shirt.
We're married.
Guys, you are wonderful. We're running out of time, so I can't finish all the fan questions here. But I would just like to say, I'm sure on behalf of all of us here, absolutely honored to be sitting on a stage with you guys. Honestly, my wee Scottish self would be I'd be pinching myself right now if my 10-year-old self could see myself now. I just love this show so much. So thank you very much for all that you've done and all that you've created. It's been an honor, a pleasure, and an honor, honestly. So thank you.